pleasure to introduce Tonier Cain, who has an amazing life story, and I'm not going to spoil it all by stealing her thunder, but basically she has come from huge amounts of trauma and really is an emblem of resilience and post-traumatic growth. So much so that she has worked for the National Center for Trauma-Informed Care and travels around the country, internationally, speaking. And I would not be able to do her justice, so I would just like to invite Tonier to come on up, and I would like to give her a big welcome.
Good afternoon, thank you. Thank you. And I know that they quieted down the mic for me because they knew that they were not going to need to put that thing up here. Because yeah, we got that girl that came up out of the neighborhood. We know she's real loud. So I will not disappoint you in that. I'm pleased to be here. I didn't think I was going to make it because we do have a storms back home. Now this is the thing, California. When people leave bad weather to come to your state, the least you could do is to make sure there's good weather here. I mean, my God, the flight was 5.5 hours, okay? So I'm pleased to be here because I didn't think I was going to make it. I have devoted my whole life to helping people understand the impact of trauma, not because I think you don't already know, because I think it's important to be reminded often how sometimes it's about what happened to you instead of what's wrong with you. And I always remind people, we don't have the right to deem somebody hopeless. Please never give yourself that. That is not your right. So I was called up to tell my story. And I'm going to tell you why people want me to tell my story. It's not because it's clinical, it's not, even though you can get CEUs. It's not clinical at all. It's just a very passionate story of hope. And so they want that fire to get ignited again. You know, when you go through all your years of school, where I come from, even if you graduate high school, you're like the smartest person in the community, really. I mean, they almost throw a parade before you if you're that one of the very rare people that graduate high school where I come from. So I never understood the process of people leaving high school to go off to college. And I know that there's a lot of things that are taking place. You know, I hear you even have to pay for it. You know, I hear the stories of people on their deathbed, instead of asking for God's forgiveness, they want forgiveness of their student loans. So you have to go through all these years of school, right, to get your degree. And how exciting it must be for you when you get that phone call that says you was the best candidate, you got the job. And it's very exciting, and especially when you're going to get your hair done, you're going to get a new outfit, you're going to lay your outfit out the night before, you're going to gas up your car the day before so you won't run out of gas on your first day of work because you're excited to go out and change the world, right? And then years later, the alarm clock goes off, and you look at it and be like, damn, I wonder how many sick days I had. What happens to I'm going out to save the world? So I really hope I get carjacked today just so I can have a good excuse not to go in and do this work. Well, see, I know what happens. I know how your fire goes out and why. You're asked to do a tremendous work. You're asked to take on other people's lives. That makes you a life changer. Whether you do it for the good or the bad, you are a life changer. So I know it's overwhelming, and I know you have to hear this. So then you get people like me, that just going to disrespect you in every possible way I can to make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. And then you have to deal with those people, just, the supervisors that always get invited to the luncheons, you never get invited, but they always on the website, at the governor's mansion, and you still back trying to get through that report. I got that. He's like, yeah. And then, the co-workers that you're forced to deal with, the one that you still do not understand how in the world that they get this job. So you have to deal with all of that. And then you still have to deal with your own life and the things that happens in your life. And they tell you when you come through the doors to be professional, to always be professional, to leave your life outside the door. That's not even humanly possible. So I understand. I don't know why you signed up to do what you do. I wouldn't do it. I'm being honest. I wouldn't deal with me. But I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you. Because the fact is this, if we could have done it without you, we would have. So God bless you all, and thank you. Now, my story is not a bunch of excuses why I made the decisions I made as an adult. It's not. I'm just trying to get you to understand what motivated those bad decisions. So I'm going to take you back in my childhood, and I'm going to bring you up to where I am today and what it took for me to become the healed, successful individual I am today. At age 9, I had about 7.5 brothers and sisters. I always say half because my mother was always pregnant. I never really knew where babies came from. I just knew she kept bringing them home. So now she would be like, I'm taking the trash out. And then 2 days later, she would come back with a baby, Like, you may not want to take the trash out anytime soon. I'm just saying, don't know what's happening at that dumpster. But for whatever her reasons were, and whatever has happened in her life to prevent her to being in the natural. And when I mean the natural, I mean it is not natural not to love and take care of your children. It is not natural to carry a baby for 9 months and bond with that baby even just inside of your stomach and not do everything you can to protect them. Things that has happened to me, and a lot of you know my story already through my film, but just a little bit of what happened to me. If any of that happened to your kids, y'all know what y'all doing. Y'all getting a shotgun. Maybe I shouldn't be talking shotgun right now, but okay, y'all getting a shotgun, but y'all going down to the police station saying, you better get him before I get him. That's natural to protect your child, your children. So whatever happened to prevented my mother from taking care of me and my brothers and sisters, I don't know. But because I was the oldest, I tried to take on that parental role to protect my sisters and brothers the best way I can. Molestation. Sexual abuse started very early on for me, around age 9. And around age 9. And I still cannot comprehend or even grasp how a man whose body covered my whole child's body could find any pleasure out of hurting me. But because I had created this belief system that I am nothing, I never amount to anything, and this is just how it's going to be for me. There was a sub-belief system that was birthed out of that, and it was bad things happen to bad people. And if this very, very, very bad thing is happening to me, that must mean I'm a very, very, very bad child. So I used to just keep those dark, very dark, violent, painful moments and tuck it very deep inside of me and not to deal with it. I was unable to go to school a lot because my mother didn't return home at times at night, and I would stay home with my brothers and sisters who would just stay in the house. But you know what? After missing 2 and 3 days at a time, I would always go off to school, always giving my missed lessons, always passed off to the next grade, but nobody ever asked why. Why are you missing so many days with a girl? If there was any communication with my mother, there was no consequence because they always just passed me off to the very next grade. I started drinking alcohol very, very early on. Because for me, it helped me to deal with my reality. I used to wander into the living room after the last night's party, and I would always find these half-filled cups sitting around. And what I realized was when I drank these half-filled cups, when the men came at night at times, it didn't feel as shameful or as painful. So I would sneak out even sometimes in the midst of the party, put my hand in the cooler to get what I can get to prepare myself for what was going to come. So alcoholism, or alcohol, started very, very early on for me. It was, again, a way for me to deal with my reality, even at age 9. This is a photograph of me around age 9. I remember getting ready for that photograph and taking a picture and all of that, and washing out that red and white connected polyester shirt, brushing my teeth. I brushed my teeth a lot, not because my mother said brush in the morning after every meal or at night, or because she took us to the dentist regularly. No, I brushed my teeth a lot because I was thinking, if only I could brush away the smell of the men when they forced themselves in my mouth, around my face. If I could just brush the smell, or even the thought of the smell, it might not feel as bad. So I would brush and brush and brush. But I didn't know anything else about any other hygiene. My nickname in elementary school was Pissy Mean because I always smelled like urine. Well, I was a big one. Sometimes it was better to pee on myself than to get up and go to the bathroom at night and encounter what I may encounter in the hallway. So I would just pee on myself. And I didn't take care of myself well. And I would wake up and I would go into the bathroom, I would brush my teeth, jump on the school bus, and when I get to the schoolhouse, the kids would circle me and call me different names. I would break through the circle, go in the schoolhouse, in the bathroom, huddle down and cry. My teacher would come and get me, take me to class and start the day's lesson. But again, never ask why. Why do you smell? Why aren't you being taken care of? So it was kind of just glossed over and looked at as just something that happened to this little girl. And that was it. Around age 11, we were taken away from my mother because of a report to the Department of Social Services. And I remember when the social worker came in and removed us from the household. And I was devastated. You see, it was my sisters and brothers that gave me the only joy I had in my life was to be surrounded by them, to love them, to receive their love. And I know that our system of Child Protective Service is supposed to be developed to help children, but in the process, they do more harm all the time because it is snatched in place. There's nothing for children. There's no therapy. There's nothing going on during this whole process. They don't even prepare you. We were taken away from the homes. We were put into the little state cars, and we were taken to complete strangers' homes. And we were told that they were our foster what? Look, I don't know what foster is, but I do know what mother is, and she's not mine. And you know what happened the very next day? I was sent off to school like nothing ever happened. So they start to get reports like this. She's unable to concentrate in school, right? She doesn't focus well. We think she may have some learning disability. No, I don't have learning disability. You just turned my world upside down because whether you believe it or not, the unfamiliar was much more scarier than the familiar. And you have done nothing to prepare me and help me to obtain or maintain some type of self-soothing through this crisis process. And that was it. Fortunately, I was in foster care for a short period of time. And then we were taken and given to different family member homes. And my older cousin chose me. She had 3 daughters around my age. And for the first time in my life, nobody was touching me and nobody was teasing me. And I was doing very well in school. And a few years later, I was there about 3 years. I heard someone call me Neen. That's what my family member called me. And when I looked out the window, I see my mother come up the walkway. And she seemed very happy. And when she walked through the door, she put her arms around me. She told me she loved me. And she wanted me to come back and live with her. Up until that point in my life, I could never really remember her even telling me that. So I did not hesitate. I ran upstairs, I packed my things, and off into the sunset, I went with my mother. Well, things had not changed much for her, or the way that she was dealing with her own life, or not dealing with some things that happened with her. And not long after that, I tried to commit suicide by taking a whole bottle of pills. Because I remember somebody saying, if you take a bottle of pills, you'll die. And I could not stand to breathe. It hurted to breathe, and I wanted to die. And when I woke up in the emergency room after taking a whole bottle of pills trying to kill myself, nobody asked me why. They talked to my mother, who convinced them that I took an accidental overdose on my own prescribed medication, and I was released back into her care. She didn't know, it scared her. She didn't know what to do. So she sent me off to live with her sister. At this point, my Aunt Carol did the very best she could, but what can she do with a 14, 15-year-old that was an alcoholic now? In order for me to stay in school and do anything in school, I had to take alcohol with me to maintain. So here I am at 15 years old, an alcoholic, feeling hopeless, hating to breathe. It was just too painful to breathe. But not long after I was with my aunt, I met this guy who thought I was cute and wouldn't mind making me his wife. And he befriended my mother by giving her all the alcohol she could possibly drink, feeding on her alcoholism. He gave her everything she needed. So when it came time for her to sign the marriage license on my behalf, she signed it, I married him, I moved into his house. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this older man can protect me from all the other bad men of the world. But this knight in shining armor, there were times when he came home at night and I would see his headlights from his pickup truck shining through my living room window, and I was frozen in fear because I didn't know if this was going to be the night that he decided to come in, take his finger and swipe it across the furniture. Because what I knew was this: if there was dust on the screen, he was going to beat me down until he seen blood. Because what he needed to know was, what was you doing all day long that you could not dust my house? So there was many beatings in that regard. So when somebody came to me around age 19 and said, try this, it was crack cocaine. It was the answer to all of my problems. See, I could just use this drug and not know anything that has ever happened to me, what the world was going to bring me. I could just use this drug and not care. And I can tell you, I no longer got those beatings for not cleaning the house anymore, because after one hit of crack cocaine, I cleaned his house, I went upstairs, I cleaned the neighbor's house, I was outside detailing cars. I'm real good with the cars, but I don't want y'all to think on y'all next little breaky break that if the rain stops, I'm going to go outside and wipe your car down, because I'm going to let you know I no longer only charge $5. I'm just letting you know now. But unfortunately for me, in order to obtain the drug to help me to deal with my reality, I had to do some things. So yes, I stand before you with 83 arrests and 66 convictions. They told me I was going to spend the rest of my life going in and out of prison, or I was going to die in the streets. When I would leave a facility, they said, see you when you come back, Cain. And when I came back, I always came back. They said, welcome home. You want your old cell? You want your old rubber room? Nobody ever said, I really hope you give you some break. I know you can make it. I know it's in you. You have potential. Nobody ever said that. But I still didn't understand what was wrong with me. Because people kept calling me crazy. They called me crazy Nanny. And they kept telling me I needed medication. So I would check myself into our 72-hour voluntary mental health unit at a county hospital. And it depended upon what day of the week it was. I went on a Wednesday, I was schizophrenic. I went on a Monday, I was bipolar. I went on a Tuesday, it was borderline Tuesday. They will always give me a different diagnosis. This is it right here. It was always the same psychiatrist. And I would always ask him, well, how do you know? And I would explain to this doctor that I had been up for 7 days straight smoking crack cocaine. You see, they never allowed the street narcotics to get out my system before they truly gave me assessment or evaluation. But I guess you get what you pay for, because I ain't had no insurance. They didn't have open enrollments back then. I know that's not a good joke, right? It was funny in 2008. It was real funny in 2008. It wasn't, yeah. This is my very first mugshot. I compared it to a young lady. I tell you stories. I give you my life story. Everything is based on my real life, my book, my film, and everything. The stories I create to keep this going and help you to bring it to full circle. This is my very first mugshot. And I compared it to a young lady I've been mentoring over the last few years. I have a good relationship with the police department now. Now, as a matter of fact, one of the officers, we became very good friends. We did. He checking in on each other. So he would let me know sometimes when something was happening to one of the women he knew I was trying to mentor off the streets. He was pretty amazed by my advocacy work in the streets where I came from. Pretty much what I did was went back to the same streets where I did all my dirt, reaching down, helping somebody up. That's it. But he was amazed. The reason why, thank you. The reason why he was so amazed is because when he was a street officer, he was one of the officers that used to arrest me all the time. So he knew my history, so he's pretty amazed. So he would call me up to let me know what was going on with one of the women. And so he called me up one night, 11:45. Okay, I want to say this. If you guys know somebody that used to smoke crack and they don't smoke crack anymore, 11:45 is considered late, okay? I'm not smoking anymore. You don't call me quarter midnight. So I'm answering telephone. I'm making sure he know I'm pissed off that I got answer the phone almost midnight. Hello? You know, you put your head in it like they can see your head. Hello? And he was like, hey, Tony, I want to know if you can come down to the detention center at the booking unit. And I was like, hell no. You just don't call somebody up and be like, come to jail. Who does that? Really, is the budget really that bad now where y'all just calling people up on the phone? Look, gas price is high this week. Chief only let us take out 2 cars tonight. You know we're going to get you anyway. So when we jump on the public bus and turn yourself in, oh, by the way, Tonier, we ran out of film. You got a picture, so I'll bring that too. I'm being real honest with you good folks here in California. I have never been that type of person that turned themselves in or even showed up in court. It just never really seemed like a win-win situation. So he was telling me that. He said, no, we have, the young lady here, Vicky here, that you've been working with. So I get there and I'm watching them process her. And they had to re-fingerprint her because she was crying so much that they re-fingerprint. She was fainting or faking the fainting. Because when we get arrested, we know how to faint on the drop of a dime. We know how to stop our vital signs and everything, hoping that this could change your mind. It never, ever works. So anyway, so I'm watching her go through all this with the officer, and I think back to my very first mugshot. Even at a young age, I didn't look distressed at all. I said, maybe I thought somebody would finally ask me, what happened to you? Instead of what is wrong with you? Why can't you get together? Maybe I'll feel safe. Maybe I get the help I need. Now I want to talk to you briefly about being re-traumatized. Up until this point in my presentation, I talked to you about all the trauma I experienced as a child and as an adolescent. Now I'm talking to you about going into my adulthood and being in the system's care that was charged to help me but caused me more harm. I'm from Annapolis, Maryland. Anybody ever been to Annapolis? Nice town. Do you like it? Nice, right? Good kind of sort. Yeah, we are positioned perfectly inside of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore City. 30 minutes north, you're in Baltimore, 30 minutes south, you're in Washington, D.C. We're not going to have a lot of gang activity or anything like that. However, we do have a lot of issues that we would have in most cities nowadays. We have the drugs, we have a lot of, the community crime on each other, basically. So it's a small town, though. We have one police department. So it was the same policeman that used to arrest me all the time. So I made a deal with these 2 guys once, and this is what the deal was. If they give me this certain amount of crack cocaine, I'm going to perform these sexual acts for them. Well, when we walked behind the abandoned building where all this is supposed to take place, they cornered me and they said, you're going to do this, and this, and we're not going to give you anything. So after they made me do everything they said I could do, they stomped me, they beat me, stomped me, and spit on me and left me there. So when I was able to get up and come from around the building, I seen a police officer standing against his cruiser. And when he seen me, he said, well, Miss Cain, we've been looking for you, because that's a thing, that you'll be a one for something. But I'm walking towards them, beat up very badly, I'm bloody, I'm beat up very badly. I turned slightly to point out the 2 guys that's on the corner that's laughing that just did this to me. And he thought I was resisting arrest. He grabbed my arms, going around my back, and threw me against the police cruiser and it broke my nose over top of everything else that had already happened. Anybody in the community, providers, couldn't get past the way that I looked or what they believed. She's just a crazy crackhead, homeless person. Nobody ever seen more than that. And that's how I was treated by people in the communities. However, I can tell you this, I was a 30-day repeat offender, so I didn't have much to give them. You know, I was a 30-day repeat offender. I was even going to correction, mental health, or substance abuse. This one particular time I went into the detention and I told them I was pregnant. They said, yeah, I came, whatever. They put me in a holding cell with 2 ladies. When the nurse came down to do the medical intake, she took my urine sample, took the 2 ladies in the cell with me as well. I don't know why she did, but she did. A day or so later, she came back and she said, you're not pregnant, but you do have a urinary tract infection. I said, miss, I know I'm pregnant. She said, we know what we're doing, and they sent me to the doctor who prescribed me a narcotic pain reliever and antibiotics for this infection that they insisted that I had. Well, at this time in this institution, you refuse your medication, they put you in what they call in the isolation until you were stabilized. We called it the hole when I wasn't going in the hole. So I took the pain reliever and antibiotics for this infection that they insisted that I had. Well, I had to get up to go to court one morning. I had been in pain all night long. When I went to use the bathroom, my baby head came out. I was 5 months pregnant. My baby was unable to fully abort. Only my baby head was able to come out. They shackled me down to the gurney and threw a sheet on the bottom half of my body with my deceased baby stuck between my legs. I tell you this story for one reason. So often we see people come back and forth into our system, on our caseload, in our programs, in our facility, and we so easily and so readily make up our mind that everything they say is a lie. We manipulate, we seek some attention. Not for one moment did one person say, wait a minute, maybe this woman knows more about her body than we're allowing her. Maybe we should retest her just to make sure we're not wrong. It could have been prevented. This way it may get a little iffy. Are there any public defenders here? Anybody was a public defender in their past life? Anybody want to be one of the next life? Well, where I come from, and my experience, and the people that I came through the system with, we never seen them when we were in jail or in some kind of program. So we called them public pretenders. And they will always come to court. This is how they come to court. They will always come to court with a whole bunch of files. Nothing will be inside your file. But on the front, it will have your name, your age, your race, and how many kids you have. That is your defense no matter what your crime is. Around my 40th arrest, the state is reading off my record. Possession, paraphernalia, prostitution, trespassing, violation, trespassing, possession, paraphernalia, violation, trespassing, theft, prostitution, theft, prostitution, possession, prostitution, possession, trespassing, violation. So the judge said, does this young lady have a drug problem? My public defender. Yes. I said he must have went to the same school I went to. So the judge said, let's try to get this young lady some help. So he court ordered me to a 28-day substance abuse. This was after 16 years of drug addiction, even longer alcoholism. Even longer alcoholism. 28 days was just enough time for me to get some rest and figure out how I was going to get high again. But since this first 28-day program, I've been court ordered to, I think, 31 other 28-day programs, and they all did the same thing. It would take them a whole week to tell us what we better not do. You know, rules and regulations. And around the second week, they will start to give us a drug education course. Yeah, they wanted us to know the natural names of the drugs they were putting in our system. Some of them even tell you where the drugs originated from. And around the third week, they start to show you pictures of homemade utensils that is unsafe for you to use to get the drugs in your system. And And before you leave, they tell you how it affects your brain. Look, I don't need to know what it used to be called with the napkin. I need to know what it's called now, because when I start to have those triggering memories, but let me tell you about these triggering memories. You know the memories, that movie that play in my mind of that big man that covered my child's body that never stopped playing. You know that smell that I had in my mind, out in my nostril, that never seemed to go away. So when that smell happened, and when that movie started rolling in my mind, I need to get this drug right now, because if I don't, I'm probably going to blow my brains out. Know how to get it in my system. That's why I'm in your drug program, and yes, safety is the number one priority as a drug addict. And don't tell me how it affects my brain. I don't care. Tell me how to not come back and forth to your system, how to not lose my children in this process. Tell me how to not go down on the corner and prostitute for $2. Tell me that. But you know what? When I got there, I seen people at this first court order program that seemed excited, and they looked good, and they sounded positive. So I got excited, because I was like, if you can help them, you can help me. So I got excited. They said, Cain, you have to go see the intake worker. So the intake worker, God bless the intake workers. The intake worker stuck her head out the door. Miss Cain, and she waved me in. And when I went in, she said, have a seat. And she pulled out the file. And she did this. Miss Cain, have you ever been a victim of the mustard mall? I said, lady, every man I had went upside my head. She said, is that a yes? And you know what she did? She just checked the box. And then she said, Miss Cain, have you ever been a victim of sexual abuse? I said, lady, I've been beat and raped so many times, I lost count. She checked the box on this one-page intake form, stapled it inside the file, closed the file away. After telling this woman all of my life I suffered violence by the hands of a man, I was assigned a male counselor. Let me say something. If you don't get anything else out of my presentation, please get what I'm about to tell you. You guys ready? Come on, you ready? So don't make me become the minister I really am, because I'll be like, tap your neighbor, tap your neighbor. If you don't see the anointing now, you will by the end of my presentation. Trust me, you're going to see more of God and less of me by the end of this. I promise you that. When we come into your programs, when we come into your system, when we come into your facility, guess what? We come with the hope that you know what you're doing. Half of us don't have the willingness or the desire to wake up day after day after day. So when we hobble through your doors, broken in spirit, in mind, in body, we expect you to know what you're doing. So you tell me this man is the best thing for me. Who am I to argue? You're the expert. You are. So I was compliant in this program. I did everything that they told me to do. I graduated this program, the first time I ever graduated anything in my life, and I felt proud. And even though they deposited me right back into my old drug-infested neighborhood, I still stayed clean that first week. I couldn't believe it. When I went back to Advocacy that first Sunday, people were saying things like, keep coming back, don't stop before the miracle, and it felt good, it did. I went back home, stayed clean another week. 2 weeks in my drug-infested neighborhood, I stayed clean. I couldn't believe it. I was able to get a ride back to Advocacy. My second aftercare, I was able to get a ride there, but I couldn't get a ride home. My drug counselor, who I was assigned to in this program, I was court ordered to, he offered me a ride home, but he made a pit stop on the way, on the road, pulled me out of his car, pushed me down, and he raped me from behind. And then he pulled my head up with my hair in his hand. No sense telling anybody, just a crackhead, just a prostitute, you nothing, he threw me to the ground. I'm not making excuses for this man, because since I've been in my healing process, he has been held accountable for his actions. But what I'm saying is maybe, when we start to understand the prevalence of trauma, up to 92% of incarcerated girls has been exposed to emotional, physical, sexual abuse. giving my answer to that one-page intake form, just maybe, a male cancer wasn't the best thing for Tonier Cain. After all, it could have been prevented. I was the angry, out of control inmate and shooter of more medicine insufficient. That was me. I can tell you one of the worst things you can do to somebody that's a victim of neglect and abandonment is put them in a room, shut the door, and walk away. Because my issues from my childhood was always triggered because that's the way that I was treated. And nobody in this program is helping me to identify, address, or treat my trauma. So I do the only thing that Tonier Cain knows to do. And you know what Tonier Cain knows to do is to tap into my survival mode. And my survival mode has always told me to fight. Because I didn't know there was any other way. So when someone came with that tray of food, that tray of medication, I would smack it out of my face. And now they're on a walkie-talkie code to code. And people running towards me, usually men, and they're throwing me down to the ground to restrain me. Do you truly understand what I'm saying? They were restraining a rape victim, somebody that has been held down and raped multiple times, causing more traumas, layers and layers and layers that are taking me even further away from the possibility of healing or recovery. Not intentionally, I know, but because we don't understand the impact of trauma, we often cause more harm. As a result, I was always given different diagnoses. As a result of bipolar, they started to medicate me heavily. I was given Thorazine, Ativan, and lithium at the same time. Somebody please help me hold my head up so I can drool up the corner of my mouth. Again, making it impossible for me to heal. As a result of rapes and prostitution, I never knew how my children were conceived. I keep my presentation real and raw. Because daily I was either being raped or I was prostituting. So I never knew how my children were conceived. But I do know this, they were my children. And as I gave birth to them, they were removed from my care. See, I got used to the beatings and the rapes. I got so used to it, I could lay down and just go somewhere else. Just hurry up and finish. You ain't got to pull your gun out, put your gun away, just do it. I got used to that. But what I couldn't get used to is having somebody take my child out of my arms, turn their back, and walk away. It was the most painful thing, it still is the most painful thing I had to deal with. I had 4 children removed from me. I had 2 children that were adopted out together. And when I went to try to visit them, they said, no, your parental rights has been taken. And I was given this picture and sent on my way. And after that, I spent 19 years in the streets, eating out of a trash can, prostituting, not allowed to go in anybody's house, being told by the systems that I was going in and out of that basically there was no hope for me. I put this one in for 2 reasons. For 19 years living on the street as a crack addict, I had very nice teeth. That technique that I developed at age 9 stuck with me. I always had to brush my teeth. When we was getting the footage for the film Healing Need, for 20 months, you know, I had a camera crew that followed me. So of course we went underneath the bridge where I spent a lot of my time, and the toothbrush and toothpaste was still up there. So also it's a perfect time for interventions. All my mugshots. It's the only mugshot I was distressed. I actually had 2 black eyes there as well. 14 years ago. It was 14 years ago, March 15th. I was arrested. And I was put into prison. And I'm pregnant. And I'm terrified I'm about to lose another baby. And I don't know how I'm going to live through yet again having another baby snatched from my arms. I just don't even know how I'm going to survive that. And I laid on my prison cell floor. And I don't even call it a prayer, but it was an eerie cry to God. I said, God, I don't know if you listen to people like me, but if you do, please help me. Please don't let them take this one. And not long after that prayer, I heard about a program called Tamar's Children. They said they works on your trauma. You know, I really didn't understand what trauma is. Because, you know, I thought trauma was when you get hit by a car and you get to go up in a helicopter, or when you come back from war. That's what I thought trauma was. But they say no, trauma was all the neglect, the abandonment, the sexual abuse as a child, adolescent, even as an adult, having my children removed from me. All these things they told me wasn't supposed to happen. I was like, really? Because where I come from, that's not trauma. That's the norm. It happens to everybody. They said they was going to be able to help me with my addiction, my mental health, and my recovery. Did I really think these people was going to help me at this point after 30-some other failed treatments? No. But they said one thing. They said you get to keep your baby with you. And in my mind, I was thinking, if only I could hold on to this one for more than 3 hours, things would be different. So I went to sign up to go to this program, and the request came back ineligible. They told me I wasn't eligible for this program because apparently you had to be eligible for parole to go, and just so happened I was in prison for a violation of parole. They really don't want to have that conversation. But I kept trying to talk to people about it. And when the therapist from the Tonier Children Program came down to interview other pregnant women, they took time to talk to me. They said, well, Tonier, you don't have enough time anyway. You have to have at least 14 months or more, 3 years parole and probation for it. You're going to get released in November. I said, yes, ma'am, but I'm going to have my baby in August. Even if I can find somebody to keep my baby from August to November, what I'm going to do, take underneath the bridge with me? I said, wait a minute, I have to go to court for one more charge. I have one more pending charge. I said, what if I go to court and act the judge for more time? Well, they took that back to the warden, and the warden said, if she actually goes into court and act the judge for more time, I'm going to find a way for her to go to the program. So the night before court, I'm all excited because I'm going to give me some time. I couldn't even sleep. I couldn't even sleep. The next minute they said, court ladies, I was already dressed. And before they put me on the van, they handcuffed me to another young lady that was going to court from prison. And the whole time we was on the van, she had my arms stretched out like this. You know, when we go to court from prison, we become very religious people. So she was in prayer mode the whole time. The whole van was singing gospel. Everybody on the van was saying, Jesus, hallelujah. Same people that cussed me out the night before, but do you, boo, do you. Everybody on the van had a rosary on. Wasn't nobody Catholic on the whole van. Didn't nobody even know what the rosary was for. I ain't seen one person say, Hail Mary. I ain't seen none of that. I ain't seen nobody praying to be. They just put it around their neck. And thank goodness for the prison ministry people. Yeah. They come to the jails to visit us. That we avoid, but we let them give us those little New Testament Bibles for court. So everybody had their Bibles, they had their crosses on, and the van was jumping in gospel. I'm like, Jim, you ain't got to do none of that. I'm going to give you some time. I get to the courthouse, I said, Deputy, who's the sitting judge today? When he yelled back who the judge was, I could have passed out. I've been trying to get in front of this judge for years because he did not like to give up time. When I need time, I get this man. Everybody giving high five. I was like, Jesus, hallelujah. Let me get that cross real quick. Because I was almost 8 months pregnant. And I knew if I gave birth in prison, I couldn't postpone because if I gave birth in prison, I'd never get my daughter back. So I'm standing in front of the judge. He said, Miss Cain, you're here for CDS paraphernalia. It's a finable offense of $500. How long you been in prison? I said, for 4 months, Your Honor. He said, this is a waste of state's time and money. She can't pay this fine. I'm just going to close the case. I said, wait a minute, Your Honor. I need you to give me time. He said, Miss Cain, I don't know if you understand. I said, sir, I do understand. But, sir, if I'm a repeat offender, you can actually give me up to 2 years. He looked at the state shakes her head. He said, she a repeat offender. I was like, yes, sir. He said, Miss Cain, don't help the state. So, I walked out of there with an additional 2-year sentence on just a verbal promise from the board. But what did I really have to lose since she changed her mind? Well, she didn't keep her word. But she did. She kept her word. And I was able to go to the Tonier Children Program. But when I walked through the doors of the Tonier Children Program, somebody greeted me at the door and said, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you made it. After 19 years of people shaking their head in disgust, crossing the street so they wouldn't even walk on the same side of the street with me, somebody told me they were glad to see me. And when I met with my specific trauma therapist, she said, Tonier, everything that happened to you as a child happened to you, you didn't do to yourself. She said, we're going to start with the trauma that first affected your life. That was my neglect and abandonment issues with my mother. And after talking about it, crying about it, some sessions, I came to the realization one day, hold on, my mother lack of love for me is who she is. It doesn't define my character. So I was able to begin healing in that area. Then I went to one session. She said, now we're going to start the process and talk about all the times you were sexually, mentally, physically abused. I said, lady, I've been beaten raped so many times I can't even count. I don't remember everything. She said, let's talk about the times you do remember. And see, now I was in a safe environment. These things were no longer happening to me, and I was believed. So I was able to begin healing in that area. Then I went to one session. She said, now we're going to talk about your children. And I said, no. How do you expect me to heal from something that continues to give me pain? Every day that I wake up, I realize I had 4 kids walking this earth. If I passed them in the streets, I wouldn't even know it. How do you heal from that? She said, you do. You just don't do it by yourself. And when I talked about my kids, I would become so distressed, I would just cross my arms and I would cry and I would rock. When I rocked, she rocked. She would match my emotions, and she took me through a grieving process, a healing process for my 4 children. So I was able to begin healing in that area. See, people such as yourself, over those 19 years, you try to give me bits and pieces of information. I seen the poster, I seen the commercial. Y'all remember that commercial? This is your brain on drugs. Y'all remember that commercial? I was a home crack addict. I seen that commercial, I wanted an egg sandwich. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Remember how fresh the eggs look in the commercial, the butter sizzles in the pan, and they crack that fresh egg open? The fact that they thought we was going to all talk, really? So I couldn't connect those dots. So the bits and pieces of information you would give me will only get surfaced. As so much pain, so much trauma packed so tightly, the bits and pieces of information you would give me couldn't penetrate any of that to get down there, to get it rooted, so I could build the foundation. So my belief system could change from I am nothing to I am somebody. I can be anything I want in this world. See, when my belief system changed, my thought process changed. And I started to make the best decisions in my life. And the best decisions I made was to go through a 1-year course, and guess what? How to be a mother. Yeah. Because if you don't know, you don't know. My learned experiences from my mother. I didn't know how to be loving and nurturing and protected, so I had to go through a circle security class for a year to learn how to be nurturing and protected, keep my daughter on the top hat, to match her emotion and to follow her lead. See, I didn't need your traditional parenting classes. You know, the ones where you show me how to properly diaper a baby. I've been diapering babies since I was 3 years old. I didn't need you to show me how to hold my baby properly. I've been holding my little sister probably since I was able to walk. I need to know how to form a secure attachment with my child. And I'm going to tell you something, I never heard those 2 words together until I had my last child. It's not talked about in the hood where I come from, secure attachment. And I can tell my daughter has secure attachment. She's actually sitting out there because she didn't want to be snowed in the room. She got on, I'm going to LA with you. She has a secure attachment. She has tested in the high percentile in our nation for the National Standardized Test. She's very, very smart. She's been taking French since 1st grade 4 times a week. She's 13 now in the 7th grade. And she does one thing I don't, well, she does a lot of things I don't like now. But she corrects my grammar. I don't mind her doing it at home and, behind the door, but she all loud without, oh, Mom, you're using that in the wrong context. So, what a difference it made in her life that finally somebody asked me what happened to you instead of what's wrong with you. I'm no longer on medication. Even though I had some girlfriends be like, girl, you might want to rethink that thing from time to time. You might want to get yourself a couple pills every once in a while. But in my case, in a lot of cases, the trauma survivor, all those things that they were trying to treat on the outside, being misdiagnosed over and over again, which is symptoms of my trauma. Since my trauma has been properly identified, addressed, and treated, I have not had one desire to use drugs, alcohol, or even smoke a cigarette. It's been 14 years without one desire. And where I come from, y'all that know, where I come from, we call that deliverance, okay? I want you to listen to the timeline. 13 years ago, I got out of prison. 12 and a half years ago, I got out of the program, and I went into aftercare, and I went into an apartment with my daughter, and it was shelter plus care, kind of like Section 8. Within 2 years of that, I purchased my own home. You see where I'm going with this? You see where I'm going. They treated my trauma with the hope I stay out their system. And it worked. But I often wondered, did they realize that treating my trauma was going to break that generational cycle in my family? See, my daughter doesn't know what it's like to be hungry, not to be loved, not to be protected. So from here on out, we look at a whole different generational path. So the cycle has been broken. Because finally somebody asked me, Tonier, what happened to you? My daughter goes to one of the best private schools in our state. So yes, I'm living the American dream. I'm in debt. There you have it. Come from underneath the bridge and go in debt with the rest of us, Miss King. The more debt you have, the more American you are. Well, guess what? I'm a super American, okay? I can go on and on and on and tell you all the wonderful things that God allowed me to do. I take no credit for the change in my life. I give all the glory and honor to my Lord and my Savior, Jesus Christ. There's nothing in me that could have done what has been done in my life over the last 14 years. But one of the things I get to do is watch a normal childhood do my daughter. This is my daughter with one of her good friends. See, I'm not doing that. I ain't sitting on a rock in the middle of a lake and waiting for a canoe to come get me. She'll go, Mom, I need to wear high boots today. Why? Because I'm going hiking, the snakes. I said, girl, it's 100 degrees outside. You gonna wear high boots? And you looking at me like that, you going where you know snakes? You better stay down here on the ground with the two-legged snakes. You learn how to deal with them first when you go over there, right? But what a difference it made in her life. I get to do the most extraordinary things. I'm a filmmaker. I'm an author. I'm a radio show talk host. I own two nonprofits and one profit company. I get to travel the world and do this great work. They said that I would never amount to anything. They said that there was no hope for me. I'm so glad that they were wrong. How about you? Married. You know, sometimes I do interviews and people are really amazed that my husband married me for some reason. You know, because people's like, you know, and I know Nadan, you know my husband, right? So they really knew, they would understand. But people think it's so amazing that I got a husband after 19 years of prostitute. You know, this is nothing. People marry prostitutes all the time. They just don't know they were prostitutes, okay? All right. It's a little different when you Google somebody and the first thing come up is former prostitute. You know what I mean? They're like, let's think about that. Let's really think about that. He could be just smart, okay? There could be some benefits to marrying a okay. Now, I do have a wonderful husband who does everything for me. He's very patient, but marriage for a trauma survivor of sexual abuse is very difficult. I have a new book launching out in April called Relationships After Trauma, and it talks about the tools that we have to develop to help us to self-soothe and regulate to live on life terms in this world as a trauma survivor. There are times that my tools have to activate my tools even amidst the intercourse with my husband, because I have to remind myself that this is not my rapist. This is not my abuser. So I have to do certain tools. Even when I worked as an employee, I had to have tools to work as an employee. Even as a mother, I have a whole chapter, just talking about how being a mother and the decisions that we make based on our own trauma sometimes for our children. So it takes a lot in this work. So what if at age 9 somebody recognized my trauma just like they did 14 years ago and I was given the opportunity to embrace trauma treatment? Isn't it possible that this child could become this woman? And no, he doesn't have his hand on my butt, okay? I put this picture up for one reason. One reason. And it's not to highlight him as a political figure, it's not. It is to show where somebody can come from and share the same stage as somebody that was formerly the president of the United States. That's it. I'm just trying to make a point. But a lot of people say, girl, where his hand at? We don't see Bill's hand now. I'm an international spokesperson on the devastation and impact that trauma has on the individual known through my film, my books, and my speaking on 5 continents, continuously trying to push it out there and help people to understand that no matter what, there is hope. My daughter travels with me a lot, as you can see. I've spent sometimes up to 4 times a year in Hawaii, because what's prevalent in the Hawaiian culture is the shaken baby syndrome. And we work at the governor's office, the general hospital, and everything in between, including corrections. And she closed out that was her first luau. 3 of my 4 children has been restored, reunited to me. That is my son Joshua, and it's funny because me and Joshua had some issues and things, resentments, as you can, being reunited. The first thing he asked me was like, "Mom, what am I?" Because of course he doesn't look all African American, and I had, because I said, "Son, when you was conceived, I was prostituting in the Latino community." So I'll be honest, but he was like, it's funny because he said, "Oh my goodness, Mom, my friends called me Jose." And then I named Joshua, but his friend just called him, that was his nickname. And I said, "Yep, they got it." I think. I'm almost sure. I have one more question to ask you. This woman was yet again in your system, in your program. Saw this picture, that's one that is blurred down there. 19 years of crack addiction, 83 arrests, 66 conviction. Diagnosed mentally ill. Homeless, lost all her children. Here she coming in, back in your program, on your caseload. 83 times she done came back and forth and through the door. My question to you simply is this: would you be able to look at her truthfully and imagine me today? Do we truly believe in the people that we serve? I can tell you, if you're serving them and you don't believe in them, how can you expect them to believe in themselves? Again, you don't have the right to need somebody help, but please don't give yourself that. So again, would you be able to look at that woman and imagine this woman in Hollywood on a red carpet ready to receive an award? Where there's breath, there's hope. Treat the trauma. You will get different results. I'm your advocate.